turkey loads.
Longbeard XR offers the tightest patterns and longest shot capability of any lead turkey load in history.
Let's start the list with an absolute behemoth of a shell. If regular shotguns are made for small birds, turkey loads are the heavy-duty option. Turkeys are big, tough birds with thick feathers and strong bones. They cannot just be killed with a regular shotgun. In order to hunt them, you need a shell. You can pack a massive number of pellets into a tight circle at long distances. Turkey loads use extra hard pellets that are usually made of lead or heavy metal called tungsten. Inside the shell, these pellets are mixed with a fine plastic powder called a buffer. When you pull the trigger, this powder acts like a cushion. It stops the pellets from smashing into each other and flattening out in the barrel. Since the pellets stay perfectly round, they can fly straight and hold a tight group for 40 to 50 yards. You can buy these in standard sizes or large magnum sizes, like 3-inch to 3.5-inch shells, but there's a catch. Because these shells are packed with some extra gunpowder to push all that heavy metal, they hit your shoulder with a massive recoil. It feels like a violent push, which can be shocking if you're not ready for it. Modern turkey loads often use premium materials like tungsten super shot, which is way heavier than lead. This lets hunters use smaller pellets to get more hits on the target while still packing enough punch to bring a tough bird down. If you want to master the basics of firearms and ammunition without confusing gatekeeping, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down the technical details clearly so you can understand your gear with confidence. Now, while turkey loads rely on heavy lead or tungsten to drop birds in the woods, hunting near water is a completely different ballgame and requires a unique type of metal. Steel waterfowl shots. For the longest time, hunters used lead pellets for almost everything. When lead drops into swamps, lakes, and marshes, it slows down to the level where it is practically useless. Moreover, ducks and geese accidentally eat it while feeding off the bottom, which not only poisons the wildlife but also the water. Because of these laws, non-toxic shells are now required for waterfowl hunting, and steel is the most common choice. Switching to steel means you have to change how you look at gunshot powder in general as well. Steel is much lighter than lead. In fact, a steel pellet weighs around 30% less than a lead pellet of the exact same size. Because steel is light, it slows down much faster once it hits the air, losing its power past 40 yards. To get the same impact, you have to buy steel pellets that are 2 sizes larger than what you would use in lead. If a manual tells you to use number 4 lead shot, you would need to buy number 2 steel shot to get the same results. Also, steel is incredibly hard and does not deform either. To protect your shotgun from getting scratched inside by hard steel, manufacturers build these shells with thick plastic cups that definitely enclose the pellets until they need to be shot. While steel shot relies on the widespread pellets to hit fast-flying ducks, what if you want rifle-like accuracy out of a shotgun? That's where the next shell comes in: Sabot Slugs.
Oh.
Most shotgun shells shoot a cloud of small, round pellets, but when it comes to the slug, it's a completely different ballgame. A slug fires one single massive piece of metal, turning your shotgun into a giant rifle. Yes, you've heard that right. What's more interesting is that a Sabot slug is a highly specific version made only for shotguns that have rifled barrels, meaning the inside of the gun barrel has spiral grooves cut into the steel to spin the bullet. The word sabot itself translates to shoe, which explains how the whole design works. The actual slug inside the shell is a streamlined bullet that is much smaller than the shotgun barrel. In order to make it fit tightly, the bullet is divided into 2 pieces, a plastic sleeve or sabot. When you fire the gun, the spiral groove inside the barrel where the plastic sleeve is then spins the whole thing. Air resistance forces the plastic sleeve to peel away and drop to the ground. This leaves the spring streamlined for the bullet to perfectly fly straight. Since this bullet is light and aerodynamic, it travels fast, often over 1,900 feet per second. This gives you amazing accuracy at 150 yards. Just remember the main rule. If you fire a Sabot slug through a standard or smooth shotgun barrel, the plastic sleeve won't really spin, causing the bullet to tumble widely and then miss completely. Sabot slugs are built to travel long distances with precision. When it comes to defending your home, give me respect and stay on impact. Defender segmenting slugs. While standing, lead slugs are still devastating. They still pose a huge danger inside a home. That issue is over-penetration. A traditional solid slug can easily blast through a target, punch through multiple interior drywall sheets, and then fly into the next room. But there's a problem. This would risk anyone standing on the other side. Segmented defensive slugs were engineered to solve this exact problem. On the outside, a segmented slug looks like a standard solid piece of metal, but on the inside, the metal is pre-cut with the scored fracture arm gate. The slug is once a solid piece, keeping the accuracy and trajectory flat. However, the exact second that hits the soft part with physical impact forces the slug to instantly split apart along the 3 cut lines. The single rod breaks into 3 separate jagged pieces that fly outward in different directions inside the target. This numbs 100 of the slug's energy into the object immediately. Since the large slug splits into smaller and larger fragments, the pieces lose their forward momentum instantly. This stops them from panicking through walls and escaping into the surrounding wide area, so understanding our behavior is crucial for safe hunting. Hit that subscribe button to keep your feed updated with straightforward, practical guides on gun defense and firearms history. Breaching rounds. In tactical situations, police and military teams often have to blast through locked doors to enter the building. The explosive power required here is a lot. Firing a standard lead slug or heavy buckshot directly into the steel deadbolt or hardwood frame from inches away is incredibly dangerous too. The hard metal can easily ricochet off the steel lock, sending lethal shrapnel flying back at the shooter or passing straight through the door into the room. Tactical teams need to avoid this, and they use specialized breaching rounds, often called powdered metal slugs. These shells are loaded with compressed lead made of fine zinc or iron powder held together by a brittle wax polymer. When you fire it, it acts like a solid slug for a few inches of travel between the gun and the door, delivering a massive blow that shatters the deadbolt or hinges instantly. The moment it hits that hard metal surface, that brittle wax breaks apart, and the entire slug disintegrates into a cloud of fine, harmless powder. The lock is destroyed, but there are no metal chunks that will bounce back at you or hurt anyone in the next room either. Breaching rounds turn shotguns into specialized lock-breaking tools, in other words. However, if you want defense and security work, this next shell is the bold standard while still being a classic one. Buckshot. Buckshot sits perfectly in the middle between lightweight birdshot and solid single slugs. Instead of hundreds of tiny pellets or one single big bullet, a buckshot shell is loaded with several heavy lead balls, so when you pull the trigger, these heavy spheres spread outwards in a cone. However, they stay in a much tighter cluster compared to birdshot, ensuring massive stopping of the target all at once. The sizing system for buckshot uses numbers and zeros at the same time. The starting number is 4. From starting number 4 to number 1 buckshot, you enter the odd-aught zones, which use zeros. A single aught is written as a single zero, a double aught is written as double zero, and a triple aught is written as triple zeros. But what does it exactly mean? More zeros simply mean a bigger, heavier lead ball. Double zero buckshot is the absolute standard for home defense and police work. A standard 2.75-inch shell usually holds 8 or 9 of these lead balls, measuring about 0.33 inch in diameter, but it stays deadly out to 50 yards because the heavy balls hold the speed and shape in the air. The trade-off is a sharp, stout kick against your shoulder, while buckshot comes with a big size. What if you need much smaller pellets? That's where birdshot comes in. Birdshot. Birdshot is perhaps the most common type of shotgun ammunition that is used for clay pigeon shooting and hunting small game like doves, quail, and ducks. These shells are packed with hundreds of tiny metal pellets, and when fired, these pellets expand into a wide cloud-like pattern in the air, creating a large hitting zone that makes it much easier to hit small moving targets in mid-flight. The sizing of the birdshot works completely backwards compared to buckshot. The higher the number, the smaller the pellet. A shell loaded with 9 birdshot contains hundreds of tiny sand-sized pellets, making it very wide. It has a forgiving pattern, which is perfect for small doves or clay targets. Lower-numbered buckshot, like 4 or 5, has larger, heavier pellets that retain their energy long enough to drop larger birds like pheasants. Birdshot has a short effective range, working best between 20 and 40 yards. Past 40 yards, the pellet loses its speed and becomes virtually harmless. However, you must be careful at ultra close. Running under 10 feet, the pellets are still tightly bunched together, acting like a solid slug that can inflict severe damage before they have their own driven spread out. While birdshot gives you a wide, forgiving pattern for small targets, if you go, this will stop a threat without risking permanent, fatal injuries. The world also has a solution to that. Less lethal rounds. There are times when law enforcement needs to stop an aggressive person without using any deadly force, which is where less lethal shells come in. These are specialty rounds that are designed to cause intense pain and muscle shock to stop a threat without killing them, though they can still cause serious injury or death if used incorrectly. Instead of a sharp lead that cuts into a target, these rounds rely on pure, blunt force. To ensure an officer never mistakes these for real lethal ammunition in a high-stress moment, less lethal shells and the shotguns that fire them are painted bright, distinct colors like blue, yellow, or orange. The most common design is the beanbag round, which fires a small fabric pouch filled with lead shot that slaps the target flat. Other options include soft rubber slugs and foam batons. These rounds fly much slower than standard ammunition and lose accuracy quickly over distance. If a less lethal round accidentally strikes someone in a sensitive zone like the head, neck, or throat, it can still be fatal, which is why operators are trained to aim strictly at arms or legs. Shotguns are like the chameleon of the fire in the world, and the shell you choose completely changes what a gun can do. Which of these shotguns will surprise you the most? Let us know in the comments down below. If you want to keep learning about ballistics and tactical gear without the confusing fluff, subscribe to the channel right now.